Hey, what is going on, guys? This is the bogey-free podcast for the Quicken Loans. I'm your host, Evan Chaney. Today, joined by my normal co-host, Matt and Jimmy. How you doing today, guys?
What's up, dude?
Just another day in paradise over here. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Just
it looks like it.
Nice.
Definitely looks like it. Looking at this field, just a quick glance before we get into anything. This is complete shit.
Wow. So there it is. It's out there right now, right from the jump. Got it.
Isn't that great? Not great.
I mean, last week's field, we were lucky because we had the U.S. Open being close to the Travelers.
Yeah.
So like people kind of just drove up there, but this is just
I guess they didn't have to travel very far, huh? Evan?
Bump.
You get it? Because it's called Travelers. You get it?
Wow, we're gonna have
getting the dad joke started early.
I've been working on them.
Yeah. No, it's good. Hey, you got to get them ready.
Yep.
You got to get them ready.
Can never be too prepared.
Boy Scout motto.
I mean, do we want to talk about last week?
No.
That was
good on Bubba. Third win of the year. Travelers, not surprising. Third win of the year. Third win there. That's what we should talk about, man. That's what we should talk about. I don't hate Bubba at all. I think he's an engaging character for golf. I don't necessarily like to watch him on the course. But in terms of like a human, I think Bubba's a great dude, and he displayed that once again this week. I think that is huge, not only for his brand, but I also don't think that he takes that stuff into consideration. Bubba's obviously a very emotional man. All of his wins, everything. He's very emotional in all of those. I guess it really comes through. He has a lot of empathy for other people. And I've heard other tour pros say that despite his sort of mercurial nature on tour. So, we can say a lot of different things about Bubba, and he's had a rough couple of years, but what he did was, that was huge, man.
Very cool.
I don't know. I can't say enough good things about guys that are in a position to do good that go ahead and do that. Just really throughout what I believe was out of the kindness of his own heart.
Yeah. He doesn't seem like a guy who's like calculating that kind of shit. He was probably just like, hey, this would be cool if I did that.
No, and I've driven through, like, Bubba's from Baghdad, Florida, and I live in Florida, and I've driven through Baghdad, which is right outside of Pensacola, and he really is kind of like the elected mayor there. They absolutely love him. It's a tiny little town. He gives a ton back to that town too. It's just definitely like a good human, man.
Yep. This is true.
I never knew there was a Baghdad, Florida.
There is. Bubba is from there. Actually, a couple of tour pros are from right around there. Who are the other guys that came out with them? I can't remember, but there's a couple of dudes that came out of that little tiny Pensacola, Baghdad, Eglin Air Force Base area. But Bubba's the only one that's kind of done anything with it, turn it into a major career. Yeah. I think the other guys have lost their cards.
You ever watch Bubba play basketball?
Yeah, he's good.
That's a sight to be seen.
He's pretty good at it. He loves it. His wife was either a professional volleyball player or professional basketball player, one of the two. I can't remember. She's huge. She's huge too. Like, I say huge, like she's really tall. Like, she's almost as tall as he is, I think, which is crazy. Yeah.
I mean, I remember watching him play the celebrity basketball tournament, like NBA All-Star Weekend. He blocked one of the girls. She's a model. Her name's Rachel Demita. He blocked her, went to like the second or third row.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I did see that. It was a bit vicious, I thought.
That man is ruthless.
He was ruthless.
On the basketball court.
He was like Joel Embiid on Twitter, bro.
That was when he was lobbying for the proper tea time split Thursday, Friday, right? At the Genesis.
Yeah. That was the same week as All-Star Week.
That's great.
Flew over there or whatever. Anyway. We do have a tournament this week, I hear.
If you want to call it that.
People will be playing golf competitively.
Yes. There will be paychecks handed out on Sunday to golfers.
Little to believe there. So yeah, let's talk about the course a little bit. Matt, I'll go to you first. So yeah, talk about the course, what stats you'll be looking at to be building a player pool this week.
Sure. So they played this event here last year. After congressional, right? For a good amount of time before that.
Yeah, like 3 years or so.
Yeah. So we don't have a ton. So whenever we have like 1 year or 2 years, we typically see like crazy importance for greens and regulation and no real like sort of room for error on anything else, which makes sense because it's just one tournament. It played pretty difficult last year. It was the 4th most difficult course on tour relative to par. So that that could factor in. It's not going to be Shinnecock, but yeah, it's par 70, medium length, right? Not too long, not too short. It's like 7,200 yards. So just the usual stuff. Like I think there's 6 par 4s of 450 to 500, which is something that you could target. Other than that, it's really just, strokes gained approach. I didn't really see that distance got you anywhere last year, but again, it's just 1 year, so that definitely could change. Jimmy, what are you thinking here?
Yeah, just good point that we've only got 1 year of data, and when we have 1 year of data, I think guys get a little too locked in to maybe like weighing on that. I'm not going to weigh a ton on how it played last year, or the performance last year, other than to sort of try and pull out things that I saw that were unanimous across the board, or at least in the top of the leaderboards. And what I noticed was it's all ball striking, period. Just, it really is. It's finding the fairway off of the tee and finding the green. The greens are small here. They're 5,300 square feet. That's actually quite small for the tour. And they have some pretty gnarly rough with some tough to hit fairways here, plenty of water, but the rough is, I think, what gives guys the most trouble. At least that's what I remember seeing from last year. It's what I've read in quite a few of the player quotes as they played it last year. Because of the part of the country it's in, it tends to be a bit sticky. The rough does. It's fescue blends, and they graduate the rough here. So you can be in the first cut and be okay and get yourself to the green. But if you're past the first cut, you can kind of forget about getting to the green unless you've got a short wedge. You're better off just laying it up in front of the green and trying to get up and down. You could put yourself in a really bad spot by trying to get aggressive from a bad lie in the rough here. The bunkers are incredibly penal from what they used to be at this course. They deepened all of them. They have some really thick faces on them, and all the fairway bunkers have quite a bit of thick fescue around them. So you could have some really awkward lies, like half in, half out of bunkers as well. The course definitely places a premium on the fairway. If you don't hit the fairway here, you can kind of forget about par. And that's the way I see it. Maybe it won't be as drastic this year, but when you look at the graduated cuts of rough, it's pretty clear to me that, and the player quotes, it's pretty clear to me that you need to be in the fairway here, and you need to be on the right side of it to get yourself a decent look at these pins. So I'm going to be targeting exclusively 450 plus par 4s and under 400 yard par 4s. I'm not going to weigh par 5s or par 3s this week. One of the par 5s is crazy long. Nobody's getting there in 2. And the other one is not really gettable. I mean, it kind of is, but you have a better shot of scoring on the short drivable par 4 14th than you do on the shorter par 5. So I'm just going to be focused on ball striking and fairways gained and greens gained, and then those 2 par 4 scoring categories. I do a little more in-depth look, as I have been every week, at fansharesports.com. I have a full video over there, and I also run through some of the Fanshare Pro stuff in there. So make sure you get over to fansharesports.com. Check out my course preview video. Also, make sure if you're on YouTube, give the video a like.
Word. Yeah, I retweeted that today too, so you can find it probably on either one of our timelines.
Yep.
Sweet. All right, let's go through this shit.
Yeah.
Have you excited?
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't wait to get into this.
I got a few guys here. They're not in this top range though.
I feel like this right now. I feel like the like a new teacher, and not like they always tell you, like, don't say like how shitty your lesson is going to be. Like, just try to sell it, even if you know it's not going to go well. And this is already, I'm just like, I can't even fake that this is like a good field. Yeah. I like got through to like 7,500, and I was just like, I don't know how much further I can go.
Yeah, despite the poor field, we've got a big GPP this week, though.
Yeah. No, they're. It seems like golf. A lot of this stuff is filling up.
You got NBA's finally gone.
Right.
And we're not into NFL yet, so I think DraftKings is trying to get some of those MME guys
and baseball
to tag into golf.
So there's that.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, let's dip into these 10K and up guys. I just noticed JB Holmes is 10,000. Like that's
on
strange.
a hot run lately.
Yeah, I know. I know he's been playing well, but still, like, how often do you see JB Holmes at 10K?
Not often enough.
Yeah. So Matt, I'll throw it to you first. Who are you looking at in this range?
I mean, this is one of those weeks. Before I get too far into like actual players, I would love to hear, or hopefully you guys can confirm sort of what I'm thinking. Like, it's really important on weeks like this that you get out of your own head looking at the number of the salary and sort of like rank guys against each other. Like, I'm not, and I get what you're saying about Holmes. Like, we're not used to seeing him at 10,000. Like, we're not used to seeing even Molinari at 10.6 in PGA. Maybe in Euro he gets there sometimes, but in PGA he's usually not up here. So do your best this week when you are going through to understand, like, there's one guy in the top 10 this week that's in the field. Like, it is a very, very spread out week, like crazy weak field compared to what we've been seeing recently. So just keep that in the back of your head. With all of that, and I don't know, that seems like right. Am I on the right track
you're
here?
right.
No, I think you are 100%. I'm actually lending a lot more weight to my blended model and just trying to operate off of those rankings to really pick and choose like who I hammer in a certain tier.
Right.
The other thing that's interesting this week is because we do have kind of a weaker field, we have a lot of golfers that don't necessarily have a lot of stats recently on this tour. You've got some guys from the web.com that are playing in here. We've got some Euro guys like Molinari. Like, I don't care what you look at, you're not going to find any stats that justify his price tag. But when you look at his recent form on the Euro tour, you might see something that piques your interest. Again, you're not going to find it in stats. But so there's a couple of ways you can approach that. I'm going to lean heavily on my blended model and my ranks. And then I'm probably going to take 10% of my lineups and sort of play that, that like, all right, I don't have any basis or reason to play a guy like Molinari in my models, but I'm going to stick him in a few lineups because at 10-6, I don't think he gets tons of ownership. And, but you can definitely pivot and grab some of those guys like a Molinari, or as you get down here, we'll talk about some more that, aren't going to pop in everyone's models or optimizers or anything else. But if you have conviction on a guy, you can definitely get some good field leverage here this week.
Right. And it's a good week to go sort of game theory, because these guys up at the top, I'm probably just going to end up playing. I don't know how much I'm even going to roster them, to be totally honest. But I'm probably just going to play the ownership game this week. Do you think Leishman goes a little bit under-owned because of the miscut and because he's between Tiger and Ricky this week?
For sure.
So like, that's probably, if I am going to pay 11,000 for somebody, that's probably where I'm going to go. And I'll put my usual like outright on Tiger and not roster him on DraftKings like I've been doing, because I don't know that I want to eat that ownership this week. And I'll be sending some things out, some grad general, but basically what I've been seeing is it's much more important than I was giving credence to sort of play the ownership game, especially with these guys. So I'm probably leaning towards Leishman. I'm not scared about last week. And yeah, I mean, I guess, I don't know, like, who's going to be the highest owned out of Molinari, Stanley, and Holmes? Like, what? Like, I don't know that anybody. Do you think anybody is really going to like get a concentrated share of the ownership this week in the 10K range?
I could see Holmes at 10K, kind of garnering
because of the last couple. Yeah, that makes sense.
Just because he's been hot. I mean, Stanley probably goes a little under-owned because he's a defending champion. Even though he's been playing well, just defending champions never seem to get the respect. I'm guilty of it too. Like, guys don't defend very often. So for the most part, I just discount that person and move away. Right. So Stanley could be that guy as well that, people just kind of move past. Not sure. He's been playing pretty well. I think everyone sees the top of this board in Ricky and Tiger, and they grab one of those and then they move down probably below Barn Rat.
Right, because how can you really fit one of the 11K guys and one of the 10K guys this week? Like you're completely undercutting any cut equity that you have if you have to dip down that low this week, right? Like,
yes and no. I guess I've run some optimals. I've run, I don't know, what am I looking at here? 10 optimals, and like 8 of them are starts and scrubs based on just that's using the Fanshare simulator. That's using I'm sorry, not Fanshare, Fantasy National Simulator. That's using my course history recent form blend. That's using my blended models. A bunch of my optimals come up with grab 2 top tier guys between 11,700 and 9,000, and then scrape the barrel. Which I'm not sure that's where I'm going to go. It's just that's what math is telling me to do.
You and your math nerd.
Logic.
It's also worth noting that there's it's only 120 players in the field this week too, which does factor in to sort of cut making percentages. Like 6 of 6s will be a little bit higher than a normal week because there's just less guys in the field for people to choose from. So I'll probably be playing the ownership game up here, and then I have a couple guys in like the 8 to 9K range that I want to go pretty heavy on. So that's sort of where I'm going to be focusing this week, and hope that the high end guys sort of bust out or just don't do enough to pay off whatever ownership they garner.
Well, I'm going to go the other way from you on Tiger Woods, and I'm going to roster him way over field average.
But that's what you should do, right? It should be nothing or crazy overweight. Like it shouldn't be. I don't know. I'm firmly falling into that habit more and more, and I've been having a lot better weeks recently because of it. So if you, like you said before too, if you feel strongly, then if you go 80% on a guy, you're going to be overweight. So
yeah.
No,
go ahead, Evan.
I'm liking Tiger here more than anyone else in that range.
Yeah,
because he has the ball striking, he has the approach game, which I'm weighing as one of the heaviest, or the heaviest thing in my mixed condition. And what is it? The ball? Yeah, I said the ball striking. So yeah, I mean he definitely has the pieces to be one of the top DFS scoring golfers this week.
He's ranked 8th in the field in birdies, and he's 2nd in bogey avoidance over the last 50 rounds. Yeah. And again, when you watch my video on Fanshare, I don't think we're going to have a ton of birdies here just based on how the course played last year, and I don't see them changing the setup drastically. I think they're still going to have it set up as a tough golf course. I think Tiger thrives in that. I think Ricky thrives in that as well, by the way. I just have a hard time paying $700 more for Ricky when I can have a guy that's probably scores better than him and is arguably playing as good. I don't know, it's hard to say. It's like a coin flip, right? One's Tiger, one's Ricky. Tiger hasn't had the killer instinct on Sundays, and Ricky's never had the killer instinct, right? But I'll take the $700 savings and the better DraftKings scoring in this top tier. And I think Woods may be like my only like really heavy exposure up here. I already told you I'd have a sort of a hedge lineup or hedge percentage with Molinari in it. But yeah, I think Tiger is where I go this week, and I've said it. Gosh, I don't know, 2-3 podcasts now, we've talked about Tiger. I really like Tiger on shorter tracks where he doesn't need to pull his driver. I think he is much better suited for these tighter, more strategic tracks this point in his career than he ever has been. And I think this course fits right into that.
And he was accurate at he was accurate off the tee at Shinnecock too. That wasn't what did him in. He just wasn't hitting greens, but he hit like 75% of fairways for Thursday, Friday. So that wasn't the issue. So if he can get into position here and get some of that ball striking with his irons back, then of course, like it's still Tiger. Like he's in this kind of field, why not, right?
Yeah. All right. You want to jump down to 9K, guys?
Why not?
Let's do that. All right. I'm looking at this. There's not much.
What do you mean there's not much?
I hate.
Sir.
First off, I hate Kevin Na.
Oh, well, that's a fair statement.
Every time I play Kevin Na, he just shits the bed.
Yeah.
I also have been shit on by Kevin Na.
Yeah.
You've been nod.
Nah. Yeah. Actually, Kevin Na is really polarizing for me this week. He rates really well. He does the things that you want well at a par 70 golf course like this. But I don't know, man. It's really hard for me to get over my bias at this point against Kevin Na. But I'm not going to fault anybody for playing him on a course that he fits really well. When it comes to pricing, and like as I look through here, the other thing is I find it really difficult to play Kevin Na when I see a ton more upside in Walker or Hostler or Neiman. Compared to Na. Like if Na goes bad, right? Even if he makes the cut but still plays bad, I don't think that he has near the scoring upside or the ability or potential to make a run than Walker or Hostler. So I think I'll probably just move around him. Like Walker is definitively a better player than Kevin Na, and he's shown that in, with his major win and his resurgence this year. Bo Hostler, I don't know. I don't have a ton of conviction on him one way or the other, but he's been playing very well, searching for a first tour win, and certainly has more scoring upside than Na. So I guess that's my justification there. But I won't fault anybody for this 9K range. I actually think it's pretty interesting. My favorite player is at the bottom of it, though, in Joaquin Neiman.
Yeah, I mean, I think the case against Na is even stronger when you look at the par 4 distance that we referenced before. He's 92nd in the field in par 4s from 450 to 500, which is pretty wild. Like that's not great for his price. Neiman has sort of been like a walking GPP. I think he's had like 3 top 10s and 3 missed cuts this year. So I think Neiman makes a lot of sense from like an upside perspective, but you definitely have a risk in him missing the cut because it's been very boomer bust for him so far this year. And I'll have a pretty fair bit of Jimmy Walker this week as well. Yeah. I'm more excited about the 8K range, but I definitely will have some. Like I'll probably start at the top some of my lineups up here because I don't know that I'm going to dip into the 10 and 11K guys that much this week.
Well, let me sell you on Joaquin Neiman. First of all, there's going to be a soft spot in my heart for the Chilean wonder kid. What was the tournament? His first tournament out, he helped me pick up a G. So
yeah, Valero.
That was it. Valero. Never gonna not like the kid. But when you hit it, he's super polarizing, right? So he's had six events he's played this year that were non-majors. He also played in the Masters. But if you take his 6 events that were non-majors, he has made the cut 50% of the time. Of the 50% of the cuts he makes, when he makes the cut, it's a top 10. He's got 2 6s and an 8th. So like when he makes the cut and he's on, dude, look out. So I mean, you're right. There's the boom or bust potential, but I mean that's what we're looking for in GPPs. There's not a ton of data to go from because we only have 6 events. But dude, when this guy makes the cut, let me just read off what he does on the approach game. 6.1 strokes gained on approach, 5.8 strokes gained on approach, and 7.6 strokes gained on approach. It's an all-out assault on the field and greens in regulation when he makes the cut. Like, I don't know how you discount a performance like that from a guy that's played 6 events on the tour. It's pretty incredible stuff from a statistical perspective. So I will definitely be putting some faith in the small sample size and the just raw talent of the kid this week, and I'll be taking a decent share of him.
I like it.
All right. Anything else really here to discuss in the 9K?
No, play Joaquin Neiman.
All right.
Yeah, and don't play Barnrat.
Yeah.
Why not? Actually, Barnrat. I don't have a great reason to play him or not to play him, but why wouldn't we play him? He's been pretty good this year.
Yeah, I mean, why?
Okay. If you don't, I was just curious why you don't want to play him. Again, I don't have a ton of conviction.
Over the place. Like he every other event he starts, he loses strokes on approach. He's just not the kind of guy that I feel like I can count on. Yeah, but what's the name? Barnrat has like a top 10, and Neiman has like 3 top 10s.
Yeah, but he's got a 15th, a miscut, a 13th, a 30th at the Players, a 44th at the Masters, 2 of the toughest fields we'll see all year, and then a 5th at the WGC Mexico, another stacked field, 15th at the US Open, 13th at the Memorial, all big fields. Maybe he only gets up for big events. I don't know, but like when you're talking boom or bust GPP potential, I don't think there's a reason not to roster Barnrat.
I would just rather play Neiman or Hassler.
Fair enough, and I agree. I just I don't think that we should say like Barnrat's bad or not a good play this week, because I wouldn't fault anybody for playing him with the upside he has.
I prefer everybody in the 9K range over him.
Fair.
That's why. Like I won't end up clicking on him because of that.
No, I got it. You just don't like people from Thailand.
That's certainly what I said.
Yeah. Taking things out of context for 1,000. No.
What about your boy CH3, bro?
Are we dipping? Are we going?
CH3 the nuts this week?
100%. That's it.
My man.
All of the CH3 every week until further notice.
900. I mean, he's 27th in approach, 35th putting, 9th off the tee, 27th around the green in his last 50 rounds. Plus, is 4th in the 450 to 500 par 4 range, and is a very good ball striker.
All true things.
Tell me how he is not the nuts. We're not in California.
It's very true.
Charles Howell has certainly been playing better than previous seasons once he's exited the California swing this year. Maybe that's the switch to PXG and kind of getting everything settled in over the last 18 months for him. I don't know, but he is certainly playing as consistent as he plays early season into a much later stage in the season than he has in previous years. So he's popped up in a couple of my optimals. I think everybody on this podcast knows my feelings about Charles Howell outside of California. But his stats this year do suggest that he is becoming a little more of a complete player across the country. And I don't think I would fault anybody for rolling a significant portion of Howell, because he does score better than most of the people in his range. Just, all things being equal.
Yes. 100% Howell this week.
That's aggressive.
Like why? But why not? Like
because if you roster 100% Howell,
miscut,
only because you can't roster 100% of Howell and 100% of Sync, and I figured you were going to roster 100% Sync.
Yeah. Why couldn't you do? You could definitely fit that.
Okay, you're right. You probably could.
Yeah, the price.
Are you going 100% on both?
Yeah.
No, I'm not going 100% on Sync. I'll definitely have a bunch of them, but I'm not gonna have 100% of him. There's so much brand in this $8,000 range this week that I don't even fucking know what to do with myself.
Dude,
we got Sync, we got Woodland, we got Tway. It's ridiculous.
Bro, I'm worried. All your brand plays show up in my optimals too.
You're damn right. You're damn right.
Matt Jones for the win this week, folks.
Be nice. But yeah, I mean, good old Stu Cink is bringing himself back around to his Kuchar like 2017. I think what's going to happen probably over the next few events that he plays is he's probably going to settle in that top 25, top 30 range a lot. And people are going to get off him, and he's going to go back down to 7,100 or 6,900, and he's just going to be a smash play GPP winner in the beginning of August. That's my official prediction.
So I should wait a couple of weeks to go 100% Sync.
Well, do you think he's going to be heavily owned this week after the last couple times out? He has to be, right?
Dude, his hole-in-one last week bumps his ownership by 4%.
That was last week?
I'm pretty sure it was. I could be wrong.
I can't remember now. But he's just the best. He's wonderful. It's a joy to see him performing well again, because it hurt my heart when he was struggling for a little bit there.
No, and much like Bubba, Sync, I think, is one of the more genuine, good human people on tour. I think he's a genuine humanitarian.
Yeah.
And he's had a really rough year a couple of years ago, but I do think Sync is probably one of the better, just good dudes on tour.
Yeah, obviously. He's part of the brand. They're all good guys.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Streelman this week? Because I I think he's having like sort of a, I don't want to say like under the radar, because he's definitely had like some weeks where his ownership has spiked, but I feel like he's having a little bit better of a season than, I mean, maybe he struggled a little bit recently with his short game, but I think he's having a lot better of a season than people are giving him credit for. And that price in this event seems like a fair price, at least. No.
What do you think, Ev? I want to look something up before I comment here on Streelman. I have a thought, but I don't want to talk out.
I mean, his short game has been terrible.
Yeah, I don't want to talk out of my ass without checking something first. So
no, I'm trying to look more into Streelman.
I feel like most people don't.
Third ball striker.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got what I wanted. So
no, I'm high on Streelman now. I just looked at. I'm high on him.
Yeah. So the thing I wanted to look at was his approach versus his around the green game, and there's a weird, like, you generally, if you gain a ton of strokes on approach, you're like neutral to the field around the green, right? Yeah. And he has gained a ton of strokes on approach the last two events, despite finishing outside of the top 30, 7.3 and 5, respectively, at the Travelers and Memorial. But at the same time, he gained all those strokes on the field. He's lost more than 1.5 at the Travelers around the green. And at the Memorial, he lost 4 strokes around the green. So I don't think that his around the green game is that bad. Like, you can't scramble that poorly for that long and be a PGA Tour player while you're hitting more greens than anybody else in the field. I mean, if you're gaining 7.3 strokes on approach, you can't, like, he had to have been so bad scrambling that it may not be like a repeatable performance. So I think I would like to throw out his around the green, focus on his approach, and I would say that he's probably a better play than his recent performance suggests. I don't think he grabs a ton of ownership because of his recent performance, like these mediocre finishes, which probably makes him an inherently good GPP play that you get for like 7 to 9% ownership.
Yeah. And like losing 4.2 strokes around the green is like, it's almost impossible.
That's what I'm saying. It's almost impossible, period.
Right? But like, it's insane.
It's really impossible to gain 5 strokes on the field and then lose 4.2 scrambling.
Right.
Like, that's the thing. Like, he must have done all of his damage to lose strokes around the green on like 3 greens.
Yeah, and it must have just been terrible. He must like chipped one off the green into the water or something. Like, that's not normal. I just pulled it up. Since the start of this year, there's only been 3 events where somebody's lost more than, 5 events where somebody's lost more than 4 strokes gained around the green. So that's definitely an anomaly, more so than anything else.
Yeah. My only concern about him is he's not a good bent putter. It's his worst putting surface. But again, that's incredibly variant.
Yeah. And he's not he's not really good on any surface either.
No, he's not a good putter, period.
No, his putting sucks. So
he could go to mini golf. It doesn't matter. Like, he's going to be bad.
Yeah, and if you go back to my course breakdown, and if you look at the guys that succeeded here last year and were at the top of the leaderboard and posting top 25s, they were all phenomenal ball strikers and all mediocre or bad putters.
Like, Kyle Stanley fucking won. So
exactly,
clearly putting wasn't that big of a deal.
The ball striking.
Keegan finished top 10 last year here, I think. Yeah. And that was before Keegan figured out how to putt. Him and Webb Simpson were still awful putters last year.
Right. All right. I wanted to get that out there because I feel like I go past Streelman quite a bit, and I feel like I just like looking through how he's done. I mean, he definitely had a stretch where he wasn't playing that well, but for the most part, his approach game has been on. So I think it's worth at least considering him this week in this kind of field.
Yeah, for what it's worth, Streelman is my number 2 ranked guy in this range. Sync comes up number 1 in my blended models.
What a day! Everything's just coming up for me right now. The brand is strong, and Gary Woodland's going to come with the top 5. This is going to be a great week.
Oh wait, I'm sorry, I screwed up. We're in the $8,000 range. Those are 2 and 3. There's one player that's ranked higher statistically than them.
Is his name Chesson Hadley?
No, it's not. You're gonna hate it.
God, who is it?
Danny Lee, bro.
Oh,
I know. Listen,
can I just add Old Tech Exposed right now?
Dude, Danny Lee falls into the Kevin Tway Danny Lee falls into the Kevin Na category for me.
Yeah.
Danny Lee. What does he do well? Like, what is he?
Dude, he's
like, where is he popping here?
Over the last 36 rounds, he's 20th in the field in fairways gained. This is my blended model, so it's my custom model rank, my fairways gained model, my greens and regulations gained model, my long par 4 scoring, and my strokes gained ball striking rolled up together. And Danny Lee ranks 3rd in the field in my overall ranks, being first in my overall stat model, 13th in fairways gained, 13th in greens and regulation gained, 14th in long par 4 scoring, and 21st in ball striking, rolls up to an overall 3rd. So
he's looking at his last 6 events. He's Joaquin Neiman for $1,000 less.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing I think is going to be the deal with this week. I think we're going to have some huge chalk busts, and we're going to have a couple of low-owned guys that just absolutely show up and crush it, because I think we're going to experience one of these just shit shows this week. I have this feeling it's a tough golf course with a weak field, and I think you hit the nail on the head earlier in the show, is that you need to take an aggressive stance to ownership this week. If you're playing GPPs, especially with the 100K, $5 contest out there. There's over 100,000 entrants in it. You're gonna certainly need to be different, and I think that's pretty easy to do. I think the ownership gets pretty well stratified this week as we sort of coalesce towards Wednesday, and guys like the touts and everybody else narrow down where their focus is. I do think that we're going to see one of those weeks where if you get really heavy on one of these extremely volatile players like a Lee or a Neiman or whatever, and you see a guy go off, you're going to see somebody take down like a 2nd, a 3rd, a 9th, and a 12th, like in a GPP this week.
I like it.
If you like it, it's fine by me. All right. Where else are we at here in this 8K range?
Are people going to roster Lingmerth this week?
I wouldn't.
Is there a height requirement for DraftKings rosters? Or?
But I think that people are going to roster him this week.
There's not a lot of reason why they shouldn't, other than recent pattern. Matt says I'll miss the cut, but he's been playing again, this is another play. You're not going to find a ton of consistency in the performances of these guys once we get outside of the top 10 or 12 guys in the pricing tiers. You're just not, because of this field, and how many guys in the top 10 are in this field? One. Once you get outside the top 20, 25 in the world, and you just turn into erratic golfers. That's what they do at this level.
And Ricky's just barely hanging on to the top 10 right now. He's 8th or 9th.
So. Yeah. So I think once we get down to this group of people and lower, you're going to start to you're going to find guys, and you're going to look at them and be like, oh, I can play this guy. Or you can take the same stance and be like, I can't fall in love with him. But it's all, there's not going to be a ton of conviction one way or the other on a lot of these guys I think we look at. And I think you need to find something with the course, how you approach it, whatever angle you're taking, and be aggressive with it, and just make the decision to be right or wrong this week and fucking live with it.
I can't be happy clicking on him. I wouldn't, at the end of the week, I'm not Friday night, I'm not going to be damn, I wish I would have rostered Lingmerth, or oh shit, I'm so shocked that he missed the cut. You know what I mean? He's not somebody that I feel strongly enough about to do that this week, but I have seen a couple people talking about him on Twitter already this week. So I don't think he's going to be that highly owned. Just, he's definitely on people's radars this week. So I just wanted your take on that too.
I'm going to play the guy below him, actually.
Say it,
Gary
James.
Woodland.
We made it.
Yes.
No, this is so Gary's flashed a little bit of form. He at the Memorial gained some strokes off the tee, kind of bringing it back around. He's settling into #dad life, right? I think this is the type of course that Gary has shown throughout his career that despite being a bomber, This is the type of course that probably favors his skill set a little more, needs to dial it back off of the tee. I think Ricky said last year he only hit 5 or 6 drivers at this course, and then Gary's going to fall into the same category as a lot of these longer hitters are. And Gary's shown throughout his career when you get him on these type of courses where he's forced to kind of take the erratic club, dial it back, find the right spot in the fairway, it allows him to excel and manage a course a little bit better. I think this is another example of that for Gary, and he has an opportunity to kind of pop here and what I don't expect to be like really heavy ownership. As a matter of fact, I'm not really sure where the chalk is going to be in like the $8,000 and upper $7,000 range. It's early in the week. I mean, it's Monday, so we've got, what pricing came out 3 hours ago. So it's not like we have a ton of information on where the industry is yet, but because of this field, I feel like once we get below 8,500, once you get below Sink, and I don't see anybody that guys are going to be like, oh my God, I got to play him.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So I think you can, again, you find conviction on who your guys are, and you just kind of don't worry about the rest of the stuff this week.
Right.
But Gary Woodland is definitely going to be a strong play for me.
Ball striking for days, fella. It's going to be great.
Yeah,
it's going to be great. I gave him his own blurb in DK Live this week. I usually try to pair him up with somebody else to avoid being a complete brand whore, but I had to give him his own space this week.
Clear some room, folks. Move out of the way. Woodland's coming through.
I needed all 600 of those characters to be for Gary. Nobody else. Not sharing shit with anybody.
Nice.
You really have to hoard those character resources.
Hey, that 600 characters come up on you quick. Let me tell you, when you're trying to write about Gary, you run out pretty fast. Too many good things to say.
Oh my God. All right. What about Tway? We talk about Tway yet?
No, but he, like I said, man, Matt's brand plays keep popping up in all of my optimals. Tway, Woodland, Sink. It's happened. It's Matt's week, bro. I'm telling you.
I hope so, because last week was definitively not my week.
Man, it's worrisome to me actually. How many of your guys are in my optimals?
It should be. Far. It should be. You should be pretty worried. But yeah, I mean, Tway's obviously flashed some form. He was saved a little bit by his short game last week, but still striking the ball well after a couple of so-so weeks. I think he's back to more like what we saw in Texas than what we saw in Memphis. So
I think Tway kind of falls into the Gary Woodland category, a super bomber, but if it's tight at all and if it's one of those like medium length tight courses where he's got to hit the driver, I think it really hurts him.
Yeah.
But this is not one of those courses. It's definitely short enough for him to he could leave the driver at home and compete with anybody in this field with his 3-wood or irons with his length. So I think he kind of falls into the Woodland category a little bit for me. Exceptional ball striker when he's on, can be a good putter, putts well on bent. So yeah, I'm not shying away from Tway. A lot of upside if he shows up. Of course, again, like everybody else below $8,500, there's plenty of risk. Right. But I think there's enough upside for me to take on that risk with Tway.
I like it. I'm very happy. I don't even need to add anything. I'm very content right now with how the universe is lining up this shitty field that ends up working for my brand, which I guess is sort of like a detriment to my brand. But
well, let me see if I can make you a little uncomfortable. Then, what are your thoughts on Billy Horschel at 7,900?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna have so much ownership from 8,500 to 8,000 that I don't know that I'm paying 7,900 for anybody. But I don't know. I mean, he probably goes under owned like usual, right?
So what would you say if I told you that Billy Horschel is the number 2 overall ranked golfer in my blended models this week?
I would tell you to be careful because
behind only. So yeah, you're right. But again, this is no biases, just stats. I'll just read you my top 10 from my blended models this week, and this is how I ranked them: Ricky Fowler, Billy Horschel, Danny Lee, Tiger, Na, Sink, Haas, Stanley, Streelman, Molinari.
Yeah.
That's the top 10 of my blended models this week, and it's all ball striking.
I feel like Horschel has been like sort of like objectively bad recently, though. Like he's been losing strokes all over the place. I don't know. I don't see it. 4 out of the last 5, he's lost strokes on approach. 3 out of the last 5, he's lost strokes around the green.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not in there.
That's cool. I'm not going to go crazy with it, but I am going to be overweight on the field, whatever that is. I don't think Billy's going to be heavily owned, probably less than 8%, and I'll probably have like 10 or 12, maybe 15%.
Makes sense.
But I think that for $7,900 and a guy that they literally changed the rule for the Ryder Cup because he played so hot, right? He's a streaky golfer that got his approach game back at the Travelers by picking up strokes for the first time in 4 events, like you mentioned. Prior to that, though, he had 2 events in a row where he's picking up close to 3 strokes off the tee and on approach. So his ball striking was on point, while his putter has remained pretty hot. So again, Billy Horschel is one of those extremely enigmatic players. Lots of variance, but I think there's again plenty of upside on a course that suits his game well. He's a par 4 scorer. And he is not a birdie fest guy, right? Like Billy Horschel's never going to compete in a birdie fest, but he can compete in a grinded out 10 under par affair, which is, I think this is what this will be this year, is one of those grinded out type of events. So I do think that the course suits Billy well. He is a class enough golfer to get it done here. I say get it done, to put up a good performance. But when you look at the guys around him, right, like I don't see the talent. Like I'm not sure I'm going to, I don't know. It's hard for me to like play Laird or Lahiri or Poston over a guy like Billy Horschel for almost the same price, right? So
I think I may play Poston over him.
I'll play some Poston. He's come up in a couple of my optimals, but I think that if you can find it in, I think you can handle the risk of rostering a decent clip of Horschel this week, you could probably be handsomely rewarded. Of course, you could be like pulling your hair out by like the 5th hole on Thursday and, be hammered drunk to drown your sorrows by the 18th.
But that's anybody.
Well, yeah, exactly.
It's not just Horschel.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I really think because of the high variance in the weak field, you take a guy like Horschel that has pedigree, has class, and has a much higher percentage to make the cut than the players around him with plenty of upside. I think you could be handsomely rewarded in a GPP this week.
And that's why you play Siwoo this week also, right?
Oh, yes.
There you go.
Oh, yes. This is like
printing money.
Light. This is like Pete Dye light here. I really like it. It's kind of like a U.S. Open, Pete Dye-ish type of situation. I definitely have some Siwoo this week.
It might be the first time ever that I roster Siwoo this week.
What? Really? Wow. I
usually
with the players last year. That was my best Siwoo performance.
Yeah, I mean, I just think 7,600 for his upside is probably a little low this week, to put it kindly.
Oh, absolutely, dude. He only moved up $100 from last week. I think he was 7,500 last week.
Yeah. So that's my little 2 cents. Do you think there's any shot Rory or CT Pan bounce back this week?
All over the CT Pan bounce back, man.
Good.
CT Pan was not a bad play last week. I don't care what anybody says about the chalk bomb and all that garbage. There was no reason not to play him last week on paper, on course history, on recent form. There was no reason not to play him. Guys miss cuts. It's golf, man. It's what happens. I'm not going to get off of the Taiwan bomb. I will have some shares. I've been rostering him all year. I'm going to continue to roster him. I'm not going to let a bad week get in the way of like what is arguably a very similar course, right? Like, see, we like CT Pan on short par 70 courses that are difficult. That was last week. That was a couple weeks before where he performed well. I'm not going to just bail on him. I do think a bunch of people will, and I'll just take the variance. I lost a little money last week on him. Again, what's the difference?
Can I tell you a better play at 7,300?
Uh-oh.
I'm going to go ahead and disagree, whatever it is.
The ultimate narrative this week and has the best statistics on paper.
Is it
Adam Hadwin?
Yeah, I was gonna say if it's not Hadwin, it's yeah.
Sunday, Canada Day. They're equivalent to 4th of July over there in.
What a phenomenal narrative, Ev.
Wow.
Let's go.
So he is only the owner of Canadian DFS can bring these takes.
Yeah, leave it to Canada DFS to drop some hotness for you north of the border.
Yes.
Eh?
Oh yes. Well, I have to represent my dudes up north. So not only does he have that narrative on his side, but he has some of the best statistics going into this thing. Right? I mean, 19th in approach. And this is all last 50 rounds. Right? 19th in approach, 31st putting, 54th off the tee, 33rd around the green. And then in that 450, 500 range, he's 3rd in the field. Ball striking, 32nd, which isn't great, but it's not bad either. So, I mean, guy's set up this week to have a good week. And he's probably going to be chalky in the process. But still, I think he's going to have a good week this week.
I like the fire, Ev.
There you go.
I like it. Proud of you.
So, how chalky do you think he gets? Because I think Adam Hadwin could potentially be the guy that ruins a lot of lineups.
Yeah, no, your CT pan pivot might be interesting if you're looking at ownership concern or whatever. But if you're looking at straight cash or the guy that's gonna, on average,
I was just gonna say it.
Yeah, or the guy that's gonna perform better in more situations, right? I think Hadwin's your guy.
I agree that he is a higher tier talent for sure. While his last 50 rounds look good and he sets up pretty well on my models as well that are a little longer look or a little longer form. His last 2 events have been a bit worrisome. Doesn't mean he can't turn it around. No, not at all. Very talented player. I do love the narrative. I'm a big fan of Narrative Street. So I'll definitely have some Adam Hadwin now knowing that Sunday is Canada Day.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh,
I mean, the thing is, most people probably don't even know that.
No,
I would bet you that less than 3% of the population's aware of Canada Day.
Yeah.
Dude, there's this poutine place in Philadelphia.
God.
I went there last year for Canada Day. I might be going back again. They have literally, I'm not joking you. They have pictures of Justin Trudeau in every corner imaginable in this restaurant. And they only sell poutine.
What?
It's a poutine restaurant. Do you not know what poutine is?
Yeah, I do. Don't you put it on stuff?
No,
you get a fucking cup of gravy?
No, it's the fries and then the things that you put on top of the fries, whether it be gravy and cheese curd, which, is the OG combination.
It sounds brilliant. These people have one thing, and they're probably printing money out there in Philly.
They are.
I'm sure they are. Let's go, Canada.
Let's go.
No, I think Adam Hadwin's a good play. He's obviously the most talented guy right there. My only concern is if he gets really chalky, coupled with his last 2 events where he kind of dropped off approach. I could see fading him based on just those 2 points. Could it burn me? 100%. But again, I think you need to take an aggressive stance this week, and I think Adam Hadwin may be the guy that I do it with if he gets to be the chalk guy down here at 73.
Yeah.
No.
Because I do think he's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
No, he's good value this week.
Comparatively, for sure.
What about Joel Dahlman, man?
Did you see? That's the narrative I thought Evan was going for.
What's the narrative with Dahlman? Oh yeah, I retweeted it. He shot 36 under on Sega. Fuck yeah, man.
How do you even do that?
Because I was like a negative or a plus 10 handicap on Tiger Woods, bro. Tiger Woods, I owned that shit. So his caddy, I thought he had Sega down.
Is something now.
It's Sega.
Yeah, fair.
Did you see the 16-bit graphics?
I did. I was not a Sega owner, but I was a Sega player. Evan's like, what the fuck is Sega? What are you guys
no, I know
about?
exactly what. I did my research.
Yeah, exactly. You had to do your research because you were born like a decade after Sega, bro.
Ev's like, yeah, I watched VH1. I love the 90s. I've seen it.
I saw a Sega once. It was at a
the sad thing is,
it was in a museum.
know what the sad thing is? It's true.
Right next to the slap bracelets.
Like my entire experience of the 1990s, unfortunately, had to come through like media that was like
JB Smoove and like whoever the hell else is on those shows.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Oh man.
Moving on from the tragic 90s.
I was gonna say Sam Ryder, but I have never seen pattern math this strong.
Oh my god.
Going all the way back to the event in the Dominican Republic, it's been miscut, made cut, miscut, made cut, like since March.
I'm looking at it. That's impressive.
That's definitely the strongest pattern math we've seen. But if you don't believe in pattern math, this is his best. I almost said best. His best putting surface, and he seemed to have played pretty well last week, right? Was neutral with the putter. If he gained any strokes with the putter, he probably would have been in like top 15. So somebody to consider down low, like a talented guy who could pop up on a leaderboard this weekend. It just gets so gross now, like as I keep scrolling, that I don't even know that I want to talk about many other people.
No. We're definitely talking about Johnson Wagner's mustache.
Okay.
So besides a phenomenal mustache, Johnson Wagner had some really interesting things to say about this course. Kind of sounded like he liked it. Again, you're not going to find like a ton of reasons to play Johnson Wagner. So it's sort of very narrative based, but he's put together 6 made cuts in a row before a miscut at the St. Jude. So playing a good bit more consistently than he has the previous year. And in that stretch, he had 3 events where he was positive strokes gained approach, and his putter was like lights out good for 3 of those events as well. So, I mean, again, just like you said, you're down here. There's a lot of variance down here, but I could see taking a guy with the mustache narrative.
Yeah. For those of you that haven't seen it, I just screen shared it, so you can take a look there for your viewing pleasure.
Oh my god, look at that, man. He's got the beeswax on the ends and it's turned up. What a stud.
It's just glorious.
What a stud, man. Do you know what kind of balls you have to rock something like that in public day to day? I knew a guy once that had a ridiculous mustache. When I say ridiculous, it was bigger than that and it like curled more. It was absurd. And he had a C in his title, like CEO. He was a highfalutin individual at a finance company. Needless to say that his peers weren't giant fans of his mustache. But it takes stones to rock a mustache like that, man. Yep. Johnson Wagner got it.
He's got it. I like it.
Other than the mustache, though, I mean, to note, he is the top putter in this field.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Yeah. I don't know.
But it does get really ugly down here, though. You're going to be grasping at straws, I think, if you're going to try and find like a reason to play these guys. I think you just have to take a little bit of you have to find something you like and just roll with it and understand that there's extreme variance below 7,500 this week.
Yeah. For sure. I will take another stab at Dylan Meyer. I'm going to keep doing that. I think last week probably wasn't the week after the big performance at the US Open, and I probably should have thought about that a little bit more. But I do think that I think he could make an interesting play. And as much as like I don't know that it's like the strongest fit, but it seems like Robert Garrigus is either like miscut or like top 20. So I might have like a lineup with him just because.
I could see Garrigus here, kind of like right along the Woodland line.
True.
Bomber can't putt, but definitely has the ability to put it out there with an iron. When his approaches are on, he's really good. He's got that stupid putter, man. If he would get like an adult sized putter, like I feel like his game would be better. Like it just has to be better, right? Like it's like Bubba playing with that ball last year. Like you can't play golf with that.
He's 4th over the last 36 rounds in strokes gained approach, which for 6,700 in this field is definitely something worth taking a stab at.
All right. I've got a couple of guys that are like way at the bottom that I'm going to save. But Is there anybody that you have any kind of conviction on down here? I mean, there's a lot of like erratic talent down here, but I find it like difficult to latch on to anybody in this range.
Yeah, I can pretty definitively say that there's not going to be anybody in my cash lineup under 7,300.
Yeah,
like
as it probably should be.
100% sure. There's no way that I'm dipping below that in cash this week. I don't know, man. Like there's always like a couple guys down here, but it's like, honestly, you could pick like 5 or 6 random guys in here and have just as good of a shot as if you like dug all the way into the $6,000 range this week, just because there's going to be a couple of these guys that pop up this week. And I don't think that there's a strong enough reason, anything that I've seen, like any pattern, anything that I could latch onto, that I'm like, I have a pretty good feeling that it's going to be this guy. I think it's going to be, there's probably going to be one guy at the top of the leaderboard Friday night where you're like, what, like, how is that even possible? Like,
I know. I'm fixing to tell you who those guys are.
All right, give me a couple.
Oh, we're going just, you got nobody else, because I'm telling you, this is the last guy on the list.
All right.
So if after this we could be done.
Just don't say Jason Gore.
Is he in the field?
Yeah.
Oh,
sorry, that was mean. That was like a shot for no reason.
Not the guy that
fucked up. I'm sorry. I know he's a listener. I apologize, Jason. Yeah. Sorry.
Is he really?
No,
that can't be true, right? Okay, I was making sure. Like you said it with conviction, like it might have been true. Anyway.
Sorry.
No, dude. So one guy popped up in my optimals, and he also was paired with Rory, and sounds like somebody that should be in a Star Wars movie, in Lanto Griffin, at $6,400, man. Dude showed a little bit of moxie. Can't putt worth a shit on bent, according to his very limited sample data. But interesting thing about Lanto Griffin, he has had a string of missed cuts. Had a 38th last week, but his last made cut was at the Valero, and it was a 58th. But in that stretch of time, he's only lost strokes on approach once, and in 2 of those events, 2 of the 5 events, he has gained nearly 3 strokes. At the same time, last week he picked up all of his strokes gained around the approach, and his putter has been fairly consistent. I don't know, man. You get paired with Rory in an event like last week. After the way Rory was playing, and then you end up here. He fell off on Sunday, but like this is a significantly weaker field than last week.
Yeah.
I could see if you're down at the bottom of the barrel that Lanto is a viable play based on very limited sample data. So
I like it.
And then you've got are you ready for this one? This is going to be your guy right here.
Wait, Lanto wasn't like the lowest?
No, I'm telling you, bro. This is the last guy. This is the last guy on the list.
Hit me.
Are you ready? J.J. Henry.
Ooh.
I know. Listen, we are at the bottom of the barrel, gentlemen. But
I don't even know if that's still in the barrel.
We could be leaking slightly outside the barrel. It's possible. But you get down to J.J. Henry, and I have no idea if he's ever. I don't even know how he played this course last year, to be honest. But let me see if he did. He did. He finished 68th last year, made the cut. But what I'm looking at is sort of interesting. It kind of falls in the same line of reasoning as Lanto. You have a guy that over the same stretch of events has made the same number of cuts and missed the same number of cuts as Lanto, 3 and 3, had decent results at the Traveler last week, where he picked up 6.1 strokes from tee to green while losing 4.5 strokes with his putter. It's one of those like crazy anomalies. So he had to have been so bad with his putter. It's almost a not repeatable performance. Maybe it's J.J. Henry's pretty bad, but in the 5 events that he's played, or 6 events that he's played, 3 of his missed cuts and the other 3 made cuts, he has yet to lose strokes on approach. And in 2 of his missed cuts, he gained over 3 strokes on approach. The guy's on with his irons right now. And he's just a horrible putter. We have really small greens. He hits plenty of fairways and he hits plenty of greens. So maybe it mitigates his really bad putter. He's lost 4.5 strokes, 4.3 and 4.5 strokes in 3 of his last 5 events with his putter. Like, granted, he's a bad putter, but Like Keegan Bradley's a fucking terrible putter, and he finished top 10 here last year.
Yeah, and Kyle Stanley won.
So again, I'm trying to look at a skill set and find a reason. Yeah. If you are way down here and you're trying to stuff in the stars and scrubs lineup, I could see somebody like popping in JJ Henry just because I don't know what his percent to make the cut is in the Fantasy National model, but I bet it's a lot higher than guys you find for $500, $600, $700 more.
You could go Ricky, Tiger, Lanto, Henry, and have 7,250 left for your last two spots.
Oh my God.
Each.
Oh my God. So, but anyway, guys,
100K.
Please understand before anybody like chirps at me on Twitter, I'm not advocating you to own like 20% of these guys.
You said it. You can't take it back now.
No, just saying they're viable plays. I'm trying to provide a justification for somebody to make an informed decision if you find yourself down in this range. Right. But no, I don't think anybody should roster 50% of these guys and then chirp at me when they miss the cut. You should expect them to miss the cut.
No, really, nobody under 7,500 should probably be like more than 15% owned in your lineups, I would say, this week.
Yeah. No, but I will be making some extreme stars and scrubs lineups, just sort of based on the influence. Like literally every one of my optimals comes back in like an extreme stars or scrubs setup, and that's really unusual because for the most part, my optimals almost always come back balanced. I don't know how does that work out for you in your models, Matt? Do you run optimal lineups or no?
No, I don't.
Okay. Yeah,
that's why I never have an optimal lineup.
Well,
that's what I've been doing wrong. Fuck.
No. When I say an optimal, I tell Excel to print me an optimal lineup based on this criteria.
Right.
And generally speaking, when I do that across all golf tournaments, it comes back with a very balanced or balance centric approach. Like, a couple of 9K guys and a couple of low 7K guys. Very rarely, and I say this very rarely, like twice in the last 2 years that I've done this, has it come back with all of the models, stars and scrubs. Mm-hmm. And I really don't know how to take it because it's such an outlier compared to what my experience is week to week normally. So I really don't know how to weigh that in this week field. What are your thoughts? Do you see like people going more balanced this week? Do you see people going more stars and scrubs? What is your gut telling you?
I think that most people are going to gravitate towards grabbing one of the top guys. Like I don't see the general PGA golf DFS player really sticking to like a balanced lineup this week.
It's hard to because you feel like you're missing out on the guy that can win.
And especially, well, that for sure. But also, especially in GPPs. I think in cash, you run into a different animal in cash. And the guys who are building cash lineups are the guys who build balanced lineups 90% of the time anyway. So depending on what you're talking about, I would say that many GPP lineups are going to have at least one guy over 10K, and many cash lineups, not many, maybe a third of cash lineups or half of cash lineups are going to have nobody over 10K. And my cash lineup might not have a guy over 10K. I haven't decided yet, but I don't think that that's wrong this week. I think you can get away with that because you get so much more cut equity by doing that and yeah, maybe you don't get the winner, but in cash, you just need 6 of 6.
Yeah.
Like this past week, I had a 4 of 6 in my cash lineup, and I was playing against guys that had 1 of 6 and 2 of 6. Like it doesn't matter at that point. You just need to make cuts. And if a guy beats you, you have a 6 of 6 and a guy beats you head to head, then, move on.
Yeah, I almost cashed last week. I had a 3 of 6 that almost cashed in the Fantasy Golf Gods listener league because but you're 100% right. Like all I needed was one more guy to cash, and I would have won with a 4 of 6. Just
right. And if it wasn't for Casey last week, it would have been a much better week for me. But even then, it's still that didn't hurt me that much because I still was. You're going against just one person. You just need to beat that one person. That's why I think more people should be playing cash, but that's just me.
No, I've got some figuring to do to see if I really want to latch onto this stars and scrubs this week and just kind of go all in there.
Yeah.
I haven't decided, but I really do have conviction on Tiger at the top this week. And that's probably going to guide my builds for the most part. So I guess I'll probably end up having like 70 to 80% of my lineups that have a player over 10K in them.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Like we said in the beginning, you definitely have to pick. And I think probably trying to get in a little bit of both is probably a mistake this week. I think you're better off really just going in because it's going to just be crazy variant with a shitty field. So
you have an extremely difficult golf course and an extremely weak field.
Right.
And I think when you add those two things together, you end up with a variance, a percent of variance that's much higher than a normal week, what we consider a normal week in like the 40 weeks that we play a year for fantasy golf. I would say that this week is probably going to be right up there in terms of variance with the U.S. Open, with the Open, with any of the majors, with the players. Like any of the Carnage golf tournaments that we have every year, the top, the 5-7 golf tournaments that just kind of wreck us. I think this has the potential to be one because of the talent of the field and the difficulty of the course.
Yep.
So I'm assuming no other golfer here.
I mean, I talked about the guy that's literally the bottom priced guy. I don't think we can go any lower.
No, I was just, I'm doing my due diligence.
No, for sure.
All right. So I guess that'll be it for us. This has been the bogey-free podcast for the Quicken Loans. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes under bogey-free and as well on YouTube to give us all of those good subscription numbers. And if you're not winning all the money, or if we're not winning all the money this week, actually, we hope you guys do. So good luck in your contest this week.
Sweet. See ya.
Peace.